Hong Kong, 1960. Before he even learned to write his own name, Chon Kong-sang already knew how to fall, roll, flip, and get up with a smile on his face. It was the fastest way to survive in the school of life, or more precisely, in the Peking Opera School, where boys were trained to become acrobats, actors, dancers, and above all warriors of the stage. Jackie Chan was born for the spotlight. Not because he chose it, but because the world seemed too small for his energy. While other kids cried when they fell, Jackie got up laughing. Laughter was his armor, and pain, his routine. If it hurts, smile. If it breaks, fix it later. But never stop the show. A saying among opera school students, repeated by Jackie into adulthood. From a young age, his body became an instrument of precision. He learned to fall backwards onto stones, to hang from third-story windows with bare hands, to take slaps for scenes that demanded realism. What others would call abuse, he called discipline. The 1970s. While Bruce Lee was setting the world on fire with fury and impact, Jackie went the opposite way. He wanted to be the clumsy hero, the clown who took more punches than he gave, but who always won in the end. The audience loved it. He made martial arts look like ballet and physical comedy. Every fight was a choreography, every object an improvised weapon. Chairs, pots, ladders, umbrellas. And even in the most brutal falls, in scenes that literally broke bones, Jackie kept smiling. But not everything was a performance. Behind the scenes, the injuries piled up. Fractured ribs, torn ankles, a cracked skull. Still, he refused to use a stunt double. Not out of vanity, but out of respect for the craft. The audience knows when it's real. I promised to give them everything I had. And I don't break promises. Jackie, in an interview after falling from a clock tower in Project A. His smile became his trademark. The press said, Jackie Chan is always in a good mood. Fans believed nothing could get to him. Not the accidents, not demanding directors, not difficult co-stars. They were almost right. Almost. Because behind every joke on set and every wave at a press conference, there was a man who was exhausted, under pressure, and often lonely. A man who, like everyone else, had a breaking point. And that breaking point was closer than he realized. Los Angeles, 1995. Jackie Chan lands at LAX surrounded by executives, interpreters, and high expectations. Hollywood had been courting him for years. After making history in Asia, the American studios were finally opening their doors. But the rules would be different. It was his chance to conquer the biggest stage in the world. But the glow of Hollywood had a blind spot. It didn't see cultures that didn't speak English with a flawless accent. At his very first meeting with a Warner Brothers producer, Jackie sensed the tone. Jackie, we love your energy, but could you speak a little slower? Maybe use a stunt double for some scenes? And tone down the physical comedy. Audiences here don't really get that. He smiled. On the outside. Inside he felt the first shock. They wanted Jackie Chan, but not the Jackie Chan. They wanted the star, but they wanted to reshape him. The rules of a different game. While filming Rumble in the Bronx, 1995, Jackie had to negotiate every choreography. Producers didn't want unnecessary risks. The studio's insurance teams were in constant panic over the idea of their lead actor jumping off buildings. To Jackie, it felt like asking a musician not to play his own music. The rhythm, the timing, the punchline of the fight, it all came from me. But they wanted me to follow a fight choreographer who didn't even know how to fall properly. A private remark to a veteran stuntman. Even so, he swallowed the frustration. Always with that professional smile glued to his face. Rush Hour. And patience. It was during Rush Hour, 1998, that the tension really escalated. The movie was a box office smash, turning Jackie into a household name in the US. But behind the scenes, things weren't so celebratory. Chris Tucker was funny, sure, but he improvised constantly. Directors prioritized the humor of Jackie's American co-star and cut scenes Jackie had spent days rehearsing to perfect. They cut the escalator fight. I trained for it for 3 days. They said it was too Asian. That killed a part of me inside. Jackie, in an interview with a Hong Kong TV station. The boiling point. One ordinary filming day on Rush Hour 2, an American assistant director shouted on set, "Jackie, can you just do the scene the way we asked?" "Our way." Silence. Jackie froze. The set went still. A forced smile tugged at the corner of his mouth, but his eyes were cold. He didn't reply. He just took a deep breath and slowly walked off toward his trailer. In China, I'm the director, the actor, the choreographer. Here, I'm just another guy who has to follow orders. That was the first day his colleagues saw Jackie finish filming without a smile. He didn't yell. He didn't slam doors. But his silence was deafening. The sky was gray, as if it knew what was coming. Jackie Chan was back in Asia, but this time on an international project with American co-production. The film, tentatively titled Steel Dragon, promised to be a blend of Western action with Eastern soul, at least on paper. In practice, the set was a pressure cooker. The director was a young American, fresh out of music videos. The crew was mixed, some seasoned Chinese veterans, others inexperienced foreign technicians. And the cast included a rising Hollywood star, Ethan Cole, 26 years old, handsome, arrogant, with the attitude of someone who thought he was already bigger than cinema itself. Jackie was on set at 5 a.m., as always. Fight scene rehearsal with Ethan was scheduled for 9. He'd spent the night personally drawing up the choreography with his team. A fast, precise, almost poetic sequence. But Ethan had other ideas. What if I improvise a kick here, then knock you down with a more natural punch? Like UFC style, you know? Ethan suggested, smiling as if he had just reinvented the genre. Jackie tried to reason calmly. He explained the camera timing, the risks, the rhythm of action that tells a story. Not just violence. But the young actor, too confident, nodded with a dismissive, yeah, clearly not listening. The rehearsal began. The impact. First move, second. Fine. Jackie dodges, spins. Just like rehearsed. But on the third move, Ethan breaks the rhythm. Instead of faking the punch with control, he goes in for real, with force. His fist lands squarely on Jackie's face with a sharp, sickening snap. Silence on set. Jackie goes down. Slowly, but heavily. The world seems to move in slow motion for a moment. The floor is cold. The taste of blood fills his mouth. A sting in his cheek. His body knows. This wasn't a scene. This was real. And then, he stands up. Slowly. Without saying a word. His eyes, the ones that always laughed at even the silliest jokes, were now ice cold. Fixed on Ethan, who chuckles awkwardly and says, "Sorry, Master Chan. I got carried away. Part of the craft, right?" Jackie wipes the blood from his lip with the back of his hand. The whole set holds its breath. A veteran stuntman mutters in Cantonese, "That was too much." And then, Jackie explodes. Part of it. His voice booms through the studio. "Do you know how many years I've trained to make sure no one gets hurt doing this job?" It was a roar of frustration built over decades. It wasn't just anger, it was heartbreak. The kind that comes from someone who treats his craft as a calling. A true master never hits carelessly. Jackie storms off the set, pushing doors open with controlled fury. He heads straight to his trailer and locks the door. For the first time in 40 years of career, he walks out of a rehearsal. The void. Hours pass. No one dares to knock. Some crew members cry quietly. Others just sit in stunned silence. Ethan paces in circles, awkward and lost. The director tries to explain it away. But no one has the nerve to approach that door. Inside, Jackie stares at the mirror. Still bleeding. But what hurts most isn't on his face. Is it still worth smiling for a world that doesn't listen? He whispers, alone. The man who had always carried the world with lightness now felt its full weight crash onto his shoulders. On the clock, the hours moved forward, but inside, time stood still. Jackie Chan remained alone, in silence. Not out of anger. That had already passed. Now it was something deeper. A kind of sadness that doesn't explode. It just weighs on you, like a soaked coat you can't take off. On the trailer wall, old posters reminded him of who he was. Drunken Master, Police Story, Project A. Each film a patchwork of sweat, blood, and above all respect, for the audience and for his fellow performers. That morning, for the first time, Jackie questioned something that had always guided him. Is there still room for honor in this industry? Echoes of the past. He closed his eyes and saw his old master, Yu Jim Yuan, stern eyes and cane in hand. Respect is built in silence. But sometimes, silence is cowardice. A phrase Jackie had heard as a boy, after being beaten for a mistake he didn't commit, and staying quiet. He thought of the childhood friends who never made it to fame. Some became forgotten stuntmen, others left the profession entirely. Jackie was the last one still standing. And even then, he was tired. Deeply tired. An unexpected visit. A soft knock on the trailer door. A familiar voice, in Cantonese. "Gu, can I come in?" It was Ken Lo, one of Jackie's most loyal stuntmen, a decades-long friend, who'd acted with him in dozens of films. Jackie gave a slow nod. Ken entered, carrying 2 cups of tea. "You always said that when the joy on set disappears, it's time to walk away." Jackie didn't respond. He just stared at the steaming tea. "But you also taught me that teaching is another way of fighting." Ken looked him straight in the eyes. "No more yelling. Teach. Show them how it's done. Or they'll think this mess is normal." Jackie took a deep breath. He stayed silent for another minute. Then he stood, took a cloth, wiped the dried blood from his face, and said, "Tomorrow, 6 a.m. I want all the stuntmen on set. And Ethan too." Ken smiled. Jackie didn't. The decision. That night, Jackie didn't sleep. Not from insomnia, by choice. He spent hours rewriting the fight scene on paper, simplifying movements, anticipating mistakes. He had decided that if he was going to return, it wouldn't be for pride. It would be for honor. For the craft. For cinema. And for the chance to teach once again that a master's true power isn't in strength, but in patience. By dawn, when the first rays of sunlight touched the set, Jackie was already there. Standing. His body tired, but his spirit steady, like bamboo. 6 a.m. Film set. Shanghai. The sun was still stretching through the clouds when Jackie Chan walked across the set. Silent, upright, eyes calm. There was something different about him that morning. It wasn't anger. It was resolve. A kind of peace only masters know when they decide to act with clarity. Everyone stopped what they were doing. Even the crew held the cables mid-air, as if time had frozen out of respect. Ethan Cole, visibly uncomfortable, appeared. He wore the fight scene costume, but without his usual arrogance. Dark circles under his eyes. A face that showed he hadn't slept. He carried an apology he had rehearsed many times but now felt like a lead weight in his throat. Jackie said nothing. He just looked at him. "Mr. Chan, yesterday I acted like an idiot. I disrespected everything you stand for. I'm sorry." Jackie listened. Then he nodded slightly and said softly, "Then learn. Lesson on set." What followed wasn't a rehearsal. It was a living lesson in cinema and discipline. Jackie went over the entire choreography, step by step, explaining not just the moves, but the reasons behind them. The camera angle, the rhythm, the balance between danger and control. He showed that a good fight isn't about hitting. It's about collaborating. Gradually, Ethan learned. He made mistakes, apologized, tried again. And Jackie taught, without irony, without impatience. Just with the precision of someone who's lived 1,000 lives on screen. By the end of the morning, they filmed the sequence. And it was perfect. The director, the camera operators, even the interns applauded quietly. Not out of obligation, but because they witnessed a real moment of greatness. The change. In the days that followed, something shifted on the set. The crew started arriving earlier. The actors listened to each other more. The stuntmen were treated with more respect. And Ethan, who used to crack jokes at the wrong time, now helped with choreography and even served tea during breaks. Jackie had restored order, not with shouting, but with presence. And at the end of filming, before the last cut, everyone, without exception, lined up to thank him personally. "You're not just an actor. You're a school," whispered the director, shaking his hand. Jackie just smiled. This time, a genuine smile. Epilogue. Months later, in an interview, a reporter asked, "Jackie, is it true you got furious on a set and almost quit a film?" Jackie looked at the camera for a moment. Thoughtful. Furious? No. Hurt? Yes. But sometimes pain is necessary for people to hear what silence couldn't say. And he finished with that sparkle in his eyes only he has. Life is like a good action scene. It demands rhythm, respect, and trust. When all that aligns, even falling to the ground becomes art.